So just want to welcome everyone to the fourth session in our webinar series. Today's session is on production management with VisiLean. So I'm Sebastian Simpson, your host, and I'm the business development manager at VisiLean. So if you've been with us the last few weeks, you'll already know, and if you're just joining us today, basically the webinar series is about digitizing construction. So each week we go into a different principle behind it, and kind of a bit more importantly, the application of how to bring that to kind of construction projects. Those of you who were with us last week would have heard Kevin from Mace about how he kind of introduced Lean to a project they're working on there, which is actually a tough act for me to follow this week. So this is session 4, so as I said, production management. The previous 3 sessions were recorded and are on our website, which is visilean.com/webinar. And it's also on our YouTube channel. And the 2 future sessions, then 2 weeks, we've got Lean BIM integration. And then 4 weeks from now, we've got progress visualization. Registration for those last 2 webinars is on our website now. Again, visilean.com/webinar. So if you can go register on those, please. We've touched upon this pretty much every week, and without going into it in too much detail, we just want to let everyone know that we're kind of here to support anyone who needs any help in construction using our software. So we're offering kind of 3 months complimentary to any projects that are helping with healthcare or infrastructure or anything in the fight against COVID-19. And if you're working on projects that aren't related to those but still need help, please get in touch and we will see what we can do, and we'll try our best. The message is we're all in this together and we'll try and help each other out. Hopefully it won't be too long and we'll be on the other side soon, hopefully stronger. So session 4, production management with VisiLean. So there are kind of 4 aspects of lean production management in no specific order. We've got transformation, so kind of understanding how to get production realized efficiently. We've got waste elimination, which is waste of materials, time, effort, space, and being able to identify non-value adding time, so waste of time pretty much. We've got collaboration, so getting everyone in the project involved, working off the same platform in a real visual environment that everyone kind of understands, and a common language that everyone can basically speak. And then we've got value. So value in the eyes of the customer. What can we do to get maximum value for the customer? What are their high value points? And that's kind of driven by continuous improvement. So starting with transformation. So firstly, you need to kind of review your production plan. So you've got inputs and outputs, but to kind of break down those inputs and outputs into smaller, more measurable tasks that make up the whole process. Then kind of understanding that it's simply not just inputs and outputs, but there's loads of different aspects you need to consider. So in construction, you're not just building a product, you need to take into account weather, supply chain, different aspects, time of the year, employees, labor. There's loads of different aspects you need to consider when understanding kind of the transformation from materials to product. And then value. So value kind of comes across in most of the aspects in lean production, but understanding the customer's needs, that really needs to be generated when you're doing everything or anything on a project, really understanding what the customer holds in value. And then the application of transformation starts with you review the project plans, break down your master schedules into smaller, more measurable tasks, ideally weekly tasks. Then you kind of sit and map the kind of potential constraints, what could cause you issues, what other factors are coming in there. Again, you should be kind of continuously focusing on the client's brief, weekly, daily, understanding the client's needs and what they kind of hold in high regard. And really importantly, treat every task as if it's a handover to a client. So if I'm handing over a task to another package, I want to make sure as if I'm thinking that that next person in line is the customer. So I've given it the best possible effort and the best possible quality I possibly can, so often in construction, things get handed over, and then when it's handed over, something's not finished or it's not right, then it goes back, and we're wasting time, we're wasting effort. If you imagined you were handing it over to the customer, that level of quality and effort will be so much higher. Waste elimination. So this is identifying kind of non-value adding time. If this webinar was an hour long and only 25 minutes was on lean production management, then the rest of that time is non-value adding and it's a waste of time that we could cut out, basically. So it's identifying that kind of waste. So then we need to try and minimize that. So minimize waste in materials, time, effort, and kind of understand where we're losing that time and effort and space and anything like that. Then it's structuring the processes to make sure that waste doesn't start to creep back in. So weekly, daily, whenever you can, just keep reviewing the processes to make sure that we're continuously improving and we're not getting back into that mindset of allowing waste back onto the construction site. And then again, to apply this, you kind of review the processes with your team, constantly talking to them, understanding what they're doing, what's happening on site, collaborate over planning decisions. So again, getting everyone in the process involved, understanding everything. Daily, weekly, monthly, review the supply chain, continuously support, bring them into kind of planning processes if you can. Ensure those handovers are smooth, make sure time's not wasted, quality's checked before it's handed over. Get regular updates from site to get that information, to understand everything, to see what's going well, what's not going well, what's being wasted, what's not being wasted, what are we using efficiently, and just kind of thought through on all of those steps, but ensure efficient communication between the teams. Make sure people are talking. Make sure if people are working on different softwares or different things like that, that everyone, all that information is amalgamated in one place on one platform, and that everyone can understand it and everyone can work on it. The next step is collaboration. So this is supported by visual management. So being able to identify and understand the status of the project just by visually looking at things. Okay. So it starts with bottom-up planning, getting people in weekly, daily, monthly, however you want to do it, and getting everyone involved in that kind of look ahead and phase kind of production planning. Then in those kind of meetings, you get them to commit to realistic tasks that they can do, that we can measure the performance of either the plan or the person doing it. Okay, so it's important that they make commitments that they're comfortable with and they can realistically do. And all of this is done in a common and visual kind of platform. So somewhere where everyone can log in. You don't have to be a planning expert to go through the plan. You don't have to be a Revit genius to go through the model to see the status of things. A very easy to use common platform that everyone has access to, that's fully transparent up to a point. And then the application to kind of bring in collaboration into a site is kind of encourage that environment for pool planning sessions with the team, weekly, daily if you want. Again, encourage planning flexibly. So that high level plan that we've seen throughout years, that top down plan isn't set in stone. We can move that, we can plan flexibly. We can collaborate with the last planners or the people on site who are actually doing the work, getting that kind of top down plan into more of a as built or a realistic commitment to what can actually happen on site. Making sure that everyone's talking and we're including site-based constraints in planning decisions, getting the people who are doing the work to give feedback on what could cause issues, and making sure we're including visualization to support the communication between teams. So making sure people are visually looking at things that are easy to understand. It's not all just data and words, making sure it's very obvious in terms of colors and color codings of statuses, the status of the project, and making it just a much more easier collaborative environment for people to visually understand. Value. So then again, this is kind of driven by continuous improvement, constantly analyzing, reviewing, and understanding the status of the project. Again, treat each handover as a customer. If the foundation guys are handing over to the structure guys, making sure they're treating the structure guys as if they're the client. Here you go, sir, this is completely done. Everything's finished. Everything's perfectly checked and checked again, making sure there's no kind of breakdown in communication or quality between those handovers. What you don't want to do is the structure guys to hand it back and say this isn't right or anything like that, because again, we're wasting time, we're wasting effort, we're wasting money. Then we've got value generation. So basically, we just continuously, when we're having these collaborative meetings, when we're understanding the transformation process, we need to bring it back to what value is generated for the customer. When we're continuously thinking about that, we're going to get the best possible product for them and make them very happy. Then, lastly, that leads us to reviewing performance. So daily, weekly, however you want to do it, make sure we're reviewing that performance. What went well? What can we take across to a different project? What can we standardize across our company? What process needs tweaking? And then what didn't go so well? What do we need to review? This bottleneck happened here. Why did that happen? Can we address that? Can we make sure that we understand that going forward? And then the application to kind of understanding value and implementing that kind of value mindset in the project is review the project progress as often as possible, identify any sort of root causes of failures that could cause big issues, making sure we're reporting, but make sure we're lean reporting. So you can generate as much data as you want, but you need to make sure it's kind of value adding data. We don't want to have to siphon through loads of different data and analytics to get to what we're eventually trying to find. It needs to be clear and concise data that and reporting that is actually going to add value and people can understand and make decisions quickly. Making sure we've got live, accurate data. So often I go to sites and people are working off spreadsheets, and that spreadsheet wasn't sent around, was sent around 2 days ago, or was updated a day ago. That's not accurate. That's not up to date. You need live, accurate information coming from site continuously to be able to understand the status of the project and the progress. Okay. You need to have visual information. People take in data and analytics and information in different ways, and visually is one of the most powerful ways to take in information. You need to make sure wherever possible you're using visual triggers to help people understand information. And then finally, just make sure there's clear communication of what's actually required between teams. Okay, communication is probably one of the most important things in kind of lean production planning, making sure teams are communicating, making sure needs and value is communicated between everyone so that everyone's working off the same platform and not working in silos like traditionally has happened. Okay, so that was the kind of theory behind lean production management. And then now we're going to go into kind of how VisiLean tackles that and helps you go digital or digitally lean. So we've created a single integrated platform. So no matter what you're used to using, whether it's Excel, Asta, P6, you can Revit, Synchro, anything, we can integrate that all into our one platform. So everyone works off the same thing at the same time. So no more working in silos or waiting for information to pass around. It's all there in one place. Alternatively, you can just create a plan and on VisiLean, which we'll come on to a bit later. We've got consistent visual management across the system. Everything in VisiLean is color coded. It's a common language that you'll be able to understand within probably 15 to 20 minutes of using VisiLean. For example, pink means something's not ready, and that's consistent throughout the whole software. So as soon as you look at a task and see it's pink, everyone will understand that it's not ready. And then we've got our digital last planner system. So that's basically our digital solution for sticky notes or last planner, if anyone's familiar with that. We can distribute tasks and information depending on specific kind of accesses that we allow people. Everything on VisiLean is available in real time. Updates are seamless and automatic pretty much. And our interactive dashboard allows for constant data to come in, but very lean, specific, target-driven data that you can kind of um, pick yourself what you want to see, and it allows for that continuous improvement that we always speak about when we're talking about lean production. Never settling for what you're doing at the moment. What can go better? What can we improve upon in the future? So just a kind of few aspects of VisiLean, and we'll go into some of the features in a bit more detail later on in the webinar. But we've got mobility through our mobile app. So the mobile app is separate to the software. It's just for updating the progress of tasks. You get notifications when a task has been assigned to you. If there was a handover and someone's finished their task and it's sent to you, you'll get a notification. You'll have a task card, which is basically all the information you need relating to that task. Everything you possibly ever need to know about that task that you're doing, the history of it, who's responsible, dates, everything is available there on the mobile app. The mobile app follows the make ready process. So basically, what it's saying is you've been assigned this task, but now you need to make sure that everything's good to go before this task is due to start. If you haven't checked all those prerequisites, then that task is not ready to go, and everyone will know why that's ready. We'll send it around the software that this task is delayed and this is the reason why. Okay, so it's a very clear, transparent tool to keep everyone in the loop and keep that communication going. And whereas this all would have been done manually by someone ringing up their supervisor or sending a spreadsheet round, this is done by a couple of clicks of a button on the mobile app. Once the task has been made ready, you can start updating information of the task, updating the progress. You notify teams if there is something you need to alert them about, or if the task needs to stop for any reason, or if the task is complete. You can send photos and notes from the app to the software. So if I've put the task is stopped due to someone in my space, I can take the photo, I can tick the box that says space is the reason why this can't continue. That will collect that data. We'll know that there's been 10 space stoppages this month. Can we get better at moving materials around or moving packages around? And it's just a very easy tool for kind of understanding where those bottlenecks happened, why they happened, and how we can kind of improve going forward. And then lastly, we've got kind of the bottom section, once that task is complete, you can send it to someone to quality check. That could be in your own team, or it could be in another team or a quality check team, however you want to do it. If there are any kind of snags that they found or any issues, they raise that directly on the app and it gets sent straight back to the person who finished the task. They'll have all the information available on the app as to why that task wasn't complete or anything they need to do. So again, this is a process which would have taken a lot more time and effort. A lot of non-value adding time would have been spent going to computers and sending emails and everything like that, whereas this has been streamlined into specific value adding time only. A couple of clicks of the button and everyone is up to date on the progress of that task. In case I forgot to say this, we will have questions at the end if anyone does have any questions, but we'll do a section at the end. So then we've got collaboration on VisiLean. So bottom-up planning. So we've got that high-level program. In our bottom-up planning, we can break that down into smaller, more measurable tasks that become what we can actually do on site. We allow those people to do those kind of pool planning sessions. So what happens in that top-down plan will constantly change and move. And when we're doing these kind of pool planning sessions, we can move these tasks around. We can change things. We can collaborate on them as to what we were going to do instead if something has to change. So that happens in these kind of pool planning sessions, and we're collaborating on that. Once we've kind of held these sessions and people have broken down the master high-level program into smaller, more accurate, realistic tasks that can happen on site, we then get people to commit to those and assign them to themselves, or get someone to sign them on their behalf or their package manager to assign it to them. So if I was doing MEP, for example, and the main contractor or the contractor might have one line for 4 months worth of MEP, but the MEP contractor will actually have 100 different tasks that make that up. We need to break that down into as many tasks as possible so we can accurately measure where people are working, whether they need space cleared, whether they need tools, labor, anything like that, so we can get as much information as possible and getting people to commit to realistic things that they're comfortable doing. So that way we can have a measure at the end, when we measure percentage plan complete (PPC). How many tasks did someone say commit to doing in a week versus how many they actually did? So it's a measure of the plan. So either the commitments aren't being realistic or someone's just not getting that work done that week. Either way, it's a tool for helping people to understand that and getting everyone back on track and getting efficiency up as much as possible. Visualization. So we won't go into too much detail on this because in 2 weeks' time, the webinar on kind of lean BIM integration. But visualization is a really powerful tool in lean production planning. Getting someone on site who all they have to do is look at a model to understand the status of things, or getting people to look at a look ahead plan, and just by looking at some colors, they straight away know the status of that task, is a really powerful tool to help people understand information and update progress. Okay. Again, in VisiLean, you can filter that visualization to specific parts of the project or parts of the model you want to see. So again, we're reducing that non-value adding time, getting rid of that, and only having clear value adding information that you need. We can also offer automated linking. So basically, you would have traditionally had to click on every element, click on the task. Now we've got automated linking to, again, make things more efficient, allow you more time to maximize value in other areas rather than wasting time on non-value adding activities. Again, performance is something we won't go into too much detail because the last webinar is on performance, but we provide a digital dashboard which visually, straight away, just by looking at it, and you don't need to be a data expert or planning expert, you can see the status of the project and any sort of issues that could arise. We've got stopped tasks and delayed tasks. We allow that to be drilled down into a much more focused review of information and data to kind of get to the real bones of what the issues might be or what's going well, what's not going well. We provide a load of different kind of charts and data to help you kind of review what's going on the project, what's going well, what's not going well. And again, all that data is used for continuous improvement. No one should be happy kind of just going by as they are. There's so many different areas where people can continuously improve. On some of the bigger projects we work on, if you could improve by 1%, that's hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of pounds. So we should always be trying to improve. And then our performance review, so we can do that per package, per employee, per organization, per team. We should be reviewing that on a micro level as well, understanding what's going well. And our dashboard allows for live reporting. So as soon as someone on the mobile app is updating something, this dashboard is updating itself. There's no need to manually generate these charts using Excel. This is all automated and done visually. You'll understand straight away the progress of the project using our kind of dashboard. So just going to go into a few more details into kind of the digital lean features of VisiLean. So we have a couple of videos coming up. Firstly, so if you're using any sort of planning software, so P6XL, Asta, anything, you can import that straight into VisiLean. Or you can create a complete plan from scratch in VisiLean itself. We allow that kind of flexibility. So often we go to sites and we find people are actually working off different softwares in the same company. So you can import different softwares into the same project on VisiLean and have everyone working in a common environment there. And we import models from virtually most softwares in IFC format. Okay, so part of our kind of visual management is through our Gantt view. If you're familiar with any sort of planning software, you'll really understand this kind of format. Tasks on the left-hand side, they're all color-coded. All the bars represent plan. I can have actual progress underneath them, and I can also have a baseline. Each of these tasks has this property panel on the right-hand side, where you get all of the information relating to that task. You can see start dates, end dates, the history of it. You can add files to that task if you think someone on a mobile app might need to see a file, like a safety document or a permit or a drawing. Um, Visually, it's very powerful at a high level to understand the status of the task just by looking at it. Those hatch lines on those dark green tasks are identifying that that's a design task. Any hatch line is design, any kind of solid color is construction task. Okay. Here is where you would do that kind of high level planning. I would import a micro program underneath one of these lines if a package manager's using a different software or something like that. And this is a very top down kind of approach. Okay. So those represent all the colors. I can change dates of anything here. And this is where I'd probably do all of my planning in terms of creating tasks and kind of task management. So just to show you, this is just a quick graphic explaining how we would import a plan. So you can either create a task, just adding this information here on the left-hand side, or you can import a pre-made plan as a kind of whole plan within the project, or underneath a line within the master plan. So for example, if I was MEP guys and I was working on Excel, I could just give the main contractor or the main planner my plan, and they could import it underneath one of their line items. So we're trying to provide that flexibility to make everyone comfortable in what they're doing. And ideally, at the end, people will become so comfortable with VisiLean that they'll plan in just VisiLean. Okay, so that was the top-down approach, that very high-level program that's kind of a best kind of a planned scenario. But often what happens is that plan changes. So that's where we came up with our kind of last planner system. So we convert all of those high-level kind of master program tasks into digital sticky notes. And what you see here is a look-ahead plan. Phase is 3 months ahead. Look ahead is 3 weeks ahead. Weekly is next week, and then execution week is this week. Okay. So the idea here is you're having your kind of collaborative meetings, your last planner sessions, and working from phase view back, you're assigning tasks. Okay. Getting people in that room to commit to doing those tasks. Okay. And they might say, actually, this task is too kind of high level. I might need 5 tasks to break this kind of down. And you can do that in this format, or you can do that in the Gantt view. Ideally, we want tasks here that will be no longer than a week. Okay. That way we can measure how many tasks in a week were completed against what we said we were going to do. Okay. On the left-hand side, you have all of your teams or packages or subcontractors and their employees beneath them. So then you can just drag and drop it to the specific person. They'll get a notification on the mobile app that it's been assigned to them, and then they can start updating the progress. Okay. Visually, this is an extremely powerful tool to see what's being worked on in a current week or in a look ahead or whatever. If I press this button here, it will bring up the number of tasks a person's sitting with that are going to have an issue, whether the start date or end date be out or it's stopped, and it will quickly highlight those. Again, visually, I just can see, just by looking at the task, I can see who it's sitting with and the status of it within 2 seconds of just looking at this sheet. So straight away, it's very visual, very powerful. I haven't had to siphon through loads of information if I didn't want to. I've literally got the exact information I need. And then if I have to, I can click on that task, that property panel will appear again, and I can go into more detail as to why it stopped, who stopped it, and I can add some notes to it if I want or any information I need. Okay. By the time you hit execution week, that should just be a lens for looking at the status of tasks, because that phase view has continuously been reviewed, been changed, been kind of accepted, and then finally committed to. And the execution week should just be a case of seeing the tasks go by. They should all be nice and green for ready or purple for ongoing. Okay. Finally, on this section, on mobile app. So the mobile app, we've tried to keep as simple as possible. We don't want to add workload to the people on site and make things difficult for them. This is a very quick, easy tool for them to give information back to the software and the other teams. So the process would be, in that collaborative meeting, we'd assign and commit to tasks. We'd drop that to the employee that's responsible for it. They'll get a notification saying they've been given the task. They'll have all the information at hand. They check the prerequisites are good to go. So labor's good, tools, space, everything's clear. They can start. They tick all those. Then they just update the progress. If they have to stop the task, they press stop. They give a reason why, and we collect that data to see if there's any trends or any kind of bottlenecks or anything that keeps continuously happening. And they can add images and notes related to the task. So if they are stopping a task, it's very important that they give the reason why and leave a note. We can cover you. So the mobile app, just to be clear, is separate from the software. It's just for updating the tasks that have been assigned. So that brings us to the end. So just to summarize, all of these kind of aspects of lean production can't be done in isolation. To get the maximum kind of value and minimize the waste, they have to be done together and implemented in the right, have the right application in the right environment, and have the right kind of team behind it, pushing it and understanding and continuously trying to improve performance. Once you've done that, lean production management is so powerful in construction to reduce costs and waste, especially at a time where margins are going to be as thin as they've probably ever been going forward, and there's a real emphasis on cutting costs. Lastly, so yeah, next in 2 weeks' time, we've got Lean BIM integration session webinar, and then 2 weeks after that, our final session, we've got progress visualization. That's the kind of end of that will be the end of the webinar series. But if there are kind of special topics you'd like us to cover, or things you'd like us to go through that you might help you or anything like that, please send them in, and we'll try our best to keep it going. That is everything from me. I will stop sharing. Has anyone got any questions? I'll open up the. We've got a question come in. Yeah, so if you weren't part of the previous session, they were recorded and are on our YouTube channel, which is, if you just search for VisiLean, and they're also on our website, which is www.vislean.com and then /webinar to go to the recordings. Is there a limit to plans that can be imported? No, there's no limit. You can import as many different plans as you want, but you need to understand that when looking through that kind of lean lens, you don't want to overload a project with information. So you want anything that's going to be uploaded into VisiLean needs to be something that someone's going to do on site. Okay, so yeah, you can have as many as you want, but the first few kind of months of implementing this kind of software, you'll need to kind of refine the data you're bringing in. Okay. We've got any people challenges during adoption which you wish to share. So we've been to quite a few sites now across the world. Every site has different challenges, but it's just, I think originally it's to get people to kind of buy into that mindset of change. So people have worked traditionally for the same kind of way for hundreds of years almost, and we're kind of going in there and asking them to change the way they're working. But I think once people understand the benefits and how much easier it is to do things, then it becomes a lot easier, and you start to kind of get real buy-in from everyone on site. We had someone that was actually using pen and paper on a site we went to a few months ago, and when we said, "Look, we can. These are all the benefits of digital construction and things, and VisiLean." He said, "Well, I'm a head of program," and I said, "But no one knows you're a head of program because you're only working on that piece of paper." So then he understood that he didn't have to go ring someone or hand that piece of paper to someone. He all he had to do was just use a mobile app to update it, and then that information was sent instantly, and he saved loads of time. So yeah, I think the main challenge is kind of changing people's mindsets. But once you can show them the benefits, it's pretty easy after that. How do you begin to transition at this stage? I think it's kind of you need to evaluate where you are at the moment and kind of understand what you're looking to get out of this. What are your main uh, issues you're facing before kind of bringing in this kind of digital planning solution, and then going forward, kind of feeding in step by step. I mean, get the software, bring in a team that you know is going to understand it, going to give you good information, and then start to filter it through once you're comfortable. I think the transition is kind of just at a pace that everyone's comfortable with. Some people can go faster than others, and just not kind of overloading people with something new. Just kind of dripping it in, understanding it, just update a few tasks, then create some more tasks, then start to use the reporting to analyze the data you're getting back, and then after a couple of months, you'll be able to just run with it. How do you control the adverse effects of late tasks in the system? So the software will make it very clear that there's been an issue, and ideally, if you're implementing that kind of lean production plan, then you'd have broken a task down into smaller, more measurable tasks. So you would have seen uh, if there is a late task, it will happen well in the early stages of that task, if you see what I mean. So if I'm doing the foundations and I've broken it down into 4 weekly tasks, and that first task is late, then I know straight away then that I need to catch up before the end of that task. So it provides you with that visual data that something is late, and that it will give you enough time, hopefully, if you're kind of using that production plan properly, that lean production plan, that you have time before the end of it to um, catch up. Again, if it is late, it will keep that data, and we can see all the reasons why and start to predict any trends. So if we've got the reason it's late is because of not enough labor, and that happens 4 or 5 times, then we can start to, in our kind of commitment planning meetings, decide if we need to be better at organizing labor, for example. Hopefully that helps. Does VisiLean support any other visual charts other than PPC and root cause analysis if requirements from the client? So yeah, I mean, we've got a standard set of charts and data, and there's actually a lot more than we showed you there, but we'll come on to that in a couple of weeks' time, a few weeks' time. But yeah, we can essentially collect any data you need, and you just need to let us know what. But in all the construction projects we've worked on so far, there hasn't been too many other fields that have needed to be collected that we don't already. But yeah, we're happy to work with clients, and kind of brings it back to that understanding the client's value. So we can, it works in all kind of aspects of business. So yeah, if there's something that you need, then we'll work our best to kind of get it done. Yeah, so that should be it. If anyone has any questions, I'll just wait here. But thanks everyone for attending.